started to fall, and where were you? How could I know you were falling too? Grabbing the wind, cutting my skin, but it's hard because I'm falling. Tell me why I'm falling. Oh, life's calling, but it's hard because I'm falling, falling, falling.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to episode 6. Dan had to fact check me here before the episode of the podcast. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for the support that we've been getting. I know we missed 1 week and we already get suggestions about it, so we thank you for the love and support. And I am joined with my co-host Dan. How you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good. Looking forward to another week of Nemesis, but I'm here to recap a little bit, Squirrel, on what actually happened in the past week, and I'm interested to see what our standings look like nowadays, because it's anybody's game.
Yeah, a lot has happened since the last episode of the podcast, and we are gonna start where our goal originally was to shorten it, and we failed miserably at that. They've all
Yeah,
been about an hour, so we're gonna try to shorten things. We're gonna talk about some upsets and some games that had huge impacts on the standings. So, Dan, do you want to hit us up with the Novice League?
sure. So for the Novice League, my biggest take for the week was Whelps taking their first loss against the Gorgons in a 3-0 fashion. I mean 3-1 fashion, excuse me. Which everybody thought, Whelps is a good roster. They're very solid. Nobody expected the Gorgons out of anybody to beat them. Gorgons are just a 500 team. So that right there shows me the Whelps are not invincible. They can be beaten
Yeah,
very simply.
and a,
Yeah.
a big question is always like when one of those teams lose, how does it affect their mental? Because that was their first one of the season. It's very easy for those to start flowing from now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Whelps, I mean, they're probably not exactly worried about it. It sucks that they can't get the 18-0, but they're still looking to be one of the top dogs in novice and probably taking the 1 seed for the regular season.
Yeah, that's true. And something I noticed, Dan, from the Novice League is that uh, the Frost at number 4 are 6-4, and then Ninjas all the way down at 11 are 5-5. So there's a 1 game difference between the 4th seed and the 11th seed. So, or sorry, a 1 match difference. Rockerman's gonna yell at me if I said 1 game, but that's that's tight. That's a tight race for the Novice League.
Absolutely. 1 game match. I'm sorry, Rocker Man. Uh, can determine it. And this is when the head-to-head starts to come into play because that's what it's going to come down to is the head-to-head. But also, we'll get to this a little bit later about other standings. But winning your division matters also, even if you don't have a winning record.
Yep, absolutely. And uh, there may have been a few other upsets in Novice League, but I agree with you. The Whelps was the big one. No one expects the 9-0 the 9-0 team to lose to a team that was 4-5. But congrats on the Gorgons for that big win. Shout out to Rogue and his novice team putting in the work over there. But now, Prospect League, Dan, Origin sweeping the Bandits. Where did that come from?
Um, I think it has something to do with Mr. Slays getting picked up for this Origin roster. Origin has not been doing so hot
And
this season.
Zabungi, right?
Yeah, I think Boongi's on the roster too. Let me double check, fact check here real quick. But Origin, like they're usually one of the top hitters in Prospect this season. So it was really weird to see them at the bottom. They were down there like 1-8, I believe. Maybe not exactly 1-8, but they were definitely down there struggling. With Ember and Flurry and Gladiators. But then they started to pick up a lot of momentum, and sweeping the Bandits is definitely a momentum change. And Zabungi is on the roster for Origin once again. He's proven to people before that he's won on Origin in season
Mm-hmm.
5. So let's see if he has some more magic in him.
Yep, he is the pep talk king when it comes to Origin and sweeping the current number one seed, giving them their second loss of the season. Definitely feeling good. But do you have anything that you notice about Prospect League?
There's a lot of 5-5 teams. It's all clumped up in the middle. So truly, you could be 5-5 right now. You can miss the play-ins.
Hmm.
That's how close it is, and one match can determine it all. So you have to keep winning. You can't give up now, and that right there shows a lot of competitiveness and what Nemesis has to offer.
Yeah. Um, yeah, like you said, those head-to-heads are super important because right now, head-to-heads would be what's deciding like why Hypernova is in and Warhawks may be out, and that's huge. Especially, you know how the play-in tournament works, where 7 and 8 have an easier route to making it into the playoffs than 9 and 10. They kind of have to win 2 series in order to make it. So huge implications there. And you mentioned it, a lower seed team having a higher or a lower record team having a higher seed because of their division. We see Vipers sitting at fifth place, not being guaranteed a top four spot because they are not leading their division.
Yeah, it's definitely a trend that we're going to see throughout all these standings as of right now. So divisional games, I mean, yes, they're big. They've already gone past, but you play your divisional games the last 3 games of the season. So keep that in mind, especially when head-to-head comes around. But truly, when the playoffs roll around, the 5 seed may be better than the 2 seed. Honestly, just because they're in a different division. So 5 seeds, they're really scary to me.
Yeah, like you remember last season, Whiteout was the number one seed, Pineapples were the number five seed, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't think I don't know where I think what Galaxy was the number two seed or something like that, and those were the three best teams, but not the three teams that were in the top five or the top four.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Galaxy, I believe they lost to no, not Dissolve.
Distortion.
Yeah, it was something like that. I believe it was an upset.
Yeah,
So anything can happen. Because even if you're the 2 seed, doesn't mean you're the second best.
yeah. So, Challenger, you had a nice upset that you brought up before we started recording. So, what was that Challenger upset that you had?
The Samurai got their first win. All hail, be the demon. Woo!
Yep.
They finally got their first win. 1-9. Hell of a record. No, I'm joking. They're having a rough season. Speed's trying to do some damage control, see what he can do for the rest of the season. And I think them beating Papayas, which Papayas, I know you're in love with them, Squirrel, it's your org, but I don't see them as a weak team at all. I do
Yeah.
believe they're one of the stronger teams in Chally, or Challenger, however you want to pronounce it. I say Chally. Um, they're just a very strong team. So them beating the Papayas, I mean, it might have been a fluke. It might not have been, but if they want to try to make a push for the play-ins, they have to do it now, and they have to win out for the whole rest of the season in order to even have a chance at it.
Yeah. Papayas are one of those teams where they kind of play to their competition. So like they played a really good game against Ascension earlier this season. They lost 3-1 to Flame, but it wasn't like a blowout by any means. And then you see them losing to the last team in the league and struggling a little bit these past few weeks. But I hope they're able to get it together. But um, the big thing for me in Challenger League was Ascension beating Hellcats. I hated the fact that Hellcats had almost a whole prospect team. I think Micro was the only player that was Challenger that whole series, and that was going to be a great game. Turned out to be an absolute blowout, and Ascension sitting at the fifth seed, 8-2, below two teams that have worse records because Ascension is behind Flame in their division right now. So another instance where not winning your division is hurting them, putting Ascension at 5.
Yeah, I think we're going to see this trend, especially when we see the final standings after match 18.
Yep.
That the fifth seed will probably be better than some of them teams above them.
Hmm.
But talking about the Hellcats a little bit, personally, I've seen them fall off. I don't know if it's something to do with the roster, but I think they were 6-0 to start the season. They lost 4 straight. So you got to be worried if you're the Hellcats personally. But going back to the 8-2 and the fifth seed, uh, Rockerman moment.
Yeah. You know, that's one of those instances where Rocker Man, no one can say that the league is out to help Rocker Man because the way it's set up right now, it is hurting Rocker Man, putting him at the fifth seed, which I think is pretty funny. But Hellcats, you mentioned they're struggling right now, and if their players aren't showing up, that's probably why. But
Yeah,
um,
mark my words, Ascension's getting first rounded in the playoffs. Bold hot take, but
we'll see who they
see what
play.
happens.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
we'll
We'll
see.
see. Rival League, Whiteout. What did Whiteout do this week?
Well, we made a roster change
Yep.
with Lightspeed. We switched basically over half our rosters. I sent Reiki and Craig to Lightspeed in exchange for Quicksnell and Pharaoh.
Hmm.
And I don't think people give Pharaoh enough credit. I think he's really good for the MMR he is. And him paired up with Larry, because I think everybody knows by now, if you're familiar with Rival League, Larry's a hard carry. He carries the team most of the time. If you pair somebody with Larry that's good enough, Larry will do his thing, and the team will stay together and start winning games, as we've seen this week with the upset against Distortion.
Living like Carrie. Yep. A good upset too. Um, Distortion being handed they have 3 losses now. Well, obviously one of them being Hydra, the powerhouse. And that's who I want to talk about right now. Hydra is beating everybody. It doesn't matter if they're Chimeras, Pineapples, Kings, Distortion. It doesn't matter. Hydra is beating them and beating them pretty convincingly.
Yeah, and I know Hydra made a move today. They actually got a fourth on their roster, LSM, which I was maybe trying to snipe for a business move. But unfortunately, they got to him before me, and I was kind of mad. But just adding more pieces to that powerhouse is insane.
Hmm.
Hydra's never been a bad team. I don't think they've missed playoffs ever since they've been a team in Nemesis.
Yeah, and it's huge that they pick up a fourth because it seems like Biscuit always has something that comes up during playoffs. So it's clutch that they have that extra player because in playoffs you can't have sub ups, you can't have FAs. So we've seen teams forfeit playoff games because someone couldn't make it, and they only had 3 people on the roster. So huge shout out for them. It's a very smart move. And now this is the big one. All right, the
Ready.
the fourth seed with
Okay,
a
let's
with
hear
a
about it.
losing record, 4-6 Gravelords. What's your hot take, Dan?
Hot take: Gravelords are getting first rounded. I know they picked up Shun from Galaxy. I know Galaxy dropped them, but realistically, I don't think Gravelords are that bad. I don't think they're a 4-6 record on how they play. I
Mhm.
think they should be more 5-5, 6-4. But I would be so irritated if I was a lower seed just because a team won their division because they have more losses than wins. I could not stand that. So luckily, I am not in their division, but that's also a bad thing because it would be easier to win the division and get a top 4 seed.
Yeah. So just to put this into perspective, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th all have better records than the fourth seed. And because of divisions, all right, because of divisions, 11th is tied in the division. I guess Gravelords
So
have the head to
bad.
head. 13th is 1 match behind, and 14th is 2 matches behind the fourth seed, and that is just absolutely crazy. Um, Anything can happen in that division with these last 8 games remaining. So if any of these end up on stream, make sure you tune in to watch it because one win can move. You can change like 8 spots in a heartbeat.
That's insane on how much that can determine things in a playoff bracket.
Hmm.
And that can kick a team out of the play-ins.
Yep.
Think about that. That's insane.
They can go from playoffs to completely out in one loss. So
I would be furious if
what
that happens
what I'm
to
hoping
my
for
team.
is I'm hoping for one of these two teams, whoever the fourth seed is, I want them to come in one game ahead of one of these like out of it teams, and I want like the out of it team to have to beat them. Like the only way they make it to playoffs is they beat them 3-1 or better, and then they do it underdog story. They make it into playoffs, and then they obviously get first rounded by Hydra, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's all right, but going back to we were talking about how 4 and 6 Travelers are the 4 seed. We mentioned this previously. The 5 seeds are scary, and that's who they would be playing against if they stay as the 4 seed in the playoffs. Is the 5 seed.
Yep.
That's a terrible position, I think, for the Gravelords.
Yeah, Distortion right now, the current 5 seed. Papaya's right there with, or Pineapple's right there with them. Both teams pretty scary. And who I yeah, the only worst position to be in is the one that ends up playing Hydra.
Coveted 8 seed.
You know,
Good luck, guys.
so
Best of luck.
yeah. Um, did you have any upsets in Titan League you wanted to talk about?
For Titan, I had Pinnacle beating Vanguard.
Hmm.
Vanguard has kind of flown under the radar. So is Pinnacle for the season, really, because when people think of Titan this season, they think of Krakens,
Yep.
10-0. They think of Blizzard. Okay, they won back to back. Maybe keep an eye on them. The Bananas unexpectedly doing well. Like they think of that division. They're all 3 teams in the division. We mention this every single time
Yep.
we talk about Titan. That division is insane. The 1, 5, and 6 seeds right now. Yikes.
Yeah.
But on the other side of things, going back to Vanguard and Pinnacle, Vanguard is 7-3. They're tied with the Bananas and Blizzard and Nebula. All these sleeper teams, like they're up there in the standings, but you don't hear much about them necessarily. And so I just think that matchup between Vanguard and Pinnacle was pretty big, even though it's not really talked about much. Because that can determine if Pinnacle makes the playoffs or not. They can go to the play-ins, which they are currently number 7.
Yep, and that puts them within one game of Blizzard, Bananas, Vanguard, and Nebula. So, uh, that's a huge win. Anytime you can get an upset like that, and it helps you so much, definitely a good momentum booster for them. And my upset for Titan League was Bananas beating Spartans. Spartans were 8-1 when they played. Now they're 8-2, and that's another win that helped keep Bananas 7-3 instead of dropping them to 6-4, tied with Pinnacle and Venganza. So that's just a huge way to show up and show out, especially after they went on like a 2 or 3 game losing streak. It was a good bounce back for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we want to take a look at the standings, this is the only league where the 4 seed does not have a losing record. That's has like lower seeds, if that makes sense. 4 is better or tied with 5, 6. They're beating 7, and then so on. The only league that we have out of the 5.
Well, Novice also is the same, um, where the fourth seed doesn't have a worse record than any of the ones below them.
Sorry, my mind got a little bit off
Yeah,
track.
I know
But
it's been a minute
point,
since we've been to
yeah, point,
Novice.
yeah. It's novice. Okay. Uh, but yeah, it's crazy to think how it ends up like that every time for the most part. I mean, 2 out of 5 are like that. That's
Yep,
weird.
it's funny, and you know, if you're that team, you love to see it. If you're not, you hate to see it. But um, I think that's gonna wrap up our little segment on some upsets or some games that were super vital this past week. And now we're gonna move on to something a little more fun. we have all stars coming up, so I wanted to see uh, who you would pick for all star. If you could pick one player from each league for all star, who do you think it would be?
If I was management,
Yep,
and if
you
I
were
would have to
management.
go, okay. So, uh, usually people vote for a popular pick. That's usually how it goes.
Hmm.
But management, you can pick anybody.
Right.
So for novice league, I might have to go. Ooh, this might be a hard one. Sky Newbie. I understand. Like everybody knows Sky Newbie. He's very good. But once we know it's a popular vote, so will he win the popular vote, or will he actually get a management vote in? So I think Sky Newbie should be a caster nominee.
Hmm.
But that's my novice league. Squirrel, how about you?
Ooh, there's a lot of great players in the novice league this season, and this is gonna be controversial, but I don't care. I'm giving it to Jorbage, the man, the mouth of the novice league. Um, if he didn't get the popular vote, I would probably vote for him for management selection. He got MVP in the finals last season. He's proven himself as a top novice player, and you know give him another opportunity to trash talk someone who wouldn't love to see it.
I've dealt with George too many times to even count anymore. But
Yeah.
I mean, he did win a chip against Frost last season,
Hmm.
so I
Well,
guess he has something.
yeah. Well, my prospect pick is easy. I got to go with Alex from my Melons team. If he doesn't win the popular vote, like I would love to see Alex get it because he's way too good to be prospect, and I've tried to figure out if he's a Smurf or not, and I haven't found anything.
For me, I don't know if he would win the popular vote, but I have to go with Yu-Gi-Oh on the Rooks. He's very cracked. I like him. He's a nice guy. I do, I do believe he should be an all-star.
Yeah, but we all know Zabungi's winning the popular vote, right?
Yeah, yeah, right. Maybe Critter,
Yeah,
maybe.
Critter is love. Oh no, it's Zabungi and Psycho. Like, how can we think it's anyone else?
Don't forget about Rogue. He might be a sleeper in
Yeah,
there.
Rogue, Critter, a lot, Speed, even a lot of love, like beloved.
Psycho,
Yep, a lot of beloved names in
Cream,
in this prospect league.
Cream Goat.
I love Cream.
I love Cream too. I'm so sad I had to drop him.
Yep. So what's your Challenger League? Who you got?
Oh god, for Challenger League. Um, I know like roughly. I mean, everybody knows everybody on Ascension. I mean, it's Rocketman, Merrily, Daydreams, Jaegers. So those guys are popular. But if I would have to pick anybody in the Challenger League, I would have to go with Cottony. I don't know if he would win the popular vote, but once again, a very solid player. He's on a very solid team, so I mean, he's known. Like everybody sees the Raptors roster and look like, okay, what's their record? Okay, they're a top team. I don't know if he would win the popular vote though. So
Yeah.
that's my pick.
Um, I'm torn here. Uh, the first one is Moxon. I think Moxon has been a great player for many seasons now. And he's doing a good job over there on Wraiths. But I think I've got to give it to Jaegers because every time I've watched Ascension play, Jaegers has seemed like, even though he's the lowest MMR on the roster, he seemed like he's performing consistently and he's stepping up and he's competing because he just barely made that challenger threshold, and he's keeping up and doing great. So I'd probably swing it in favor of Jaegers.
Very solid pick. Jaegers. He doesn't make a lot of noise, but he's there. And he's good. He's good at what he does. He stays under the radar. He does what he needs to do for his team.
Hmm.
So I can appreciate that.
Yeah. Now onto Rival League, my stomping grounds. There is a lot of talent in the Rival League this season, but I've I've got to give it to Zap for Distortion. Zap,
Thinking the same thing.
yeah, Zap has had just a great season over there in Distortion. I know he took a little bit of a hiatus in the past few seasons, but he's came back and he has made his statement, and he's doing so good over there.
Very solid pick, as you just heard. I was probably going to say him, but I did not go with him. I am going with Kaiser on the
Okay.
Gravelords that are 4-6.
Okay.
I truly believe he is the best person on that roster, and nobody, knows about him because they're a 4-6 team. Okay, who cares? But he's solid enough. I've seen him play with my own two eyes. I truly believe that he should get an all-star vote.
Yep. And he better be good because that division just got a whole lot tougher with Galaxy getting Crip, Chipmunk getting a rival. Chipmunk had a rival in the past, and then they dropped him, but now he's back over there because he was literally the best player on Pineapples for a whole week, and um, I think a rival saw that and they were like, yeah, we got to get this guy. So Kaiser, a good pick. He's probably the reason that they've got that fourth seed, even with the losing record right now. Um, but hey, I love it. It's a great pick.
Thank you, and I'm gonna bounce it to you real quick. What do you think about Titan Squirrel?
Oh God. Obviously, there's the bitches, the Lucas, the Mad Maxes, the Toxics. There's a ton of great players in Titan League, but and we all know that like if they could get 3 popular votes, it would be Golf, Bubbly, and Bagels just to see how drunk they get. But for a management pick or like a podcaster pick, I'm gonna have to go with oh god, I'm gonna have to go with Bravo on bananas because he's sitting at 1800, but he's probably one of the most improved players in Titan League from last season to this season.
You have to agree, he's definitely improved quite a bit. And so I'm going to go to my pick here. So I would say a little bit biased. Max, I think he's amazing. What he does, mechanical, he's fast. But I'm gonna have to go deluxe on Pinnacle.
Hmm.
Pinnacle, they've been doing their own thing this season, like we've already mentioned previously. And I feel like wherever deluxe goes, that team somehow, someway tries to make the playoffs or play-ins or whatever it may be. Just some kind of past the regular season.
Yeah,
So I would select Deluxe as a all-star pick.
that's a solid pick as well. And I wanted to give a honorable mention to Dank over there in Spartans because Dank coming up from Rival League either last season or the season before has fit in very well on a Titan roster, and that doesn't happen a whole lot.
It's a huge change from rival to Titan. It may not seem like it because they're right next to each other in league, but in Titan it skyrockets from 1720 to 2K
Yeah.
plus. That's a huge jump, and so props to Dank for fitting into a 8-2 Spartans roster.
Yep. And are you excited for our new segment?
I am ready for this new segment, Mr. Squirrel.
All right, everybody, get ready because we are about to show you a clip of the week. If you would like to participate in clip of the week, you can either DM me the clip or you can just post a clip in what's it called? Clips, and we will watch it. Sorry, Dan, I have to put it on the stream anyways.
Oh.
If you want to DM clips to Dan, go for it. But I was trying to save your inbox a little bit.
It's all good.
So, are you ready for us to roll the clip?
I'm ready, and I'm ready to hear this reaction. It's a good reaction.
Let's roll it.
In the net. Good try. Fuck.
Oh my
Oh
god!
my god, what a
You're
shot.
crazy.
I didn't expect it to go in.
Oh my god!
For 6 minutes.
Oh
Jesus
my
Christ.
god.
That's what it takes.
All right, you heard it here. You heard the reaction. You saw the shot. It was Bubs. I don't know who they were playing, but he did hit a crazy redirect off the wall in overtime. And I don't know about you, Dan, but any overtime clips just get a few extra bonus points when it comes to it.
It's you gotta clutch up in OT
Mhm.
because one little mistake you lose the game, or you win the game. And Bubs was clearly happy with the shot he made, and I was very impressed when I seen it. Bubs, congrats on a nice shot and nice reaction to it also.
Yep, and the stream doesn't know this, but I had to turn that clip way down so that your eardrums didn't bust. But
Yeah.
it was a good shot. It was a good shot indeed. Now for our last part of the podcast, we're able to shorten it up a little bit, Dan. We're sitting at 30 minutes right now. Mission accomplished. But our last little segment is our questions it's going to be one question from you. You wanna take that one away, Dan?
Sure, for Mr. Colsox, he asked, which games would you like to see in the finals from each league? I thought that was a very interesting question because it's hard to tell right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because you may say, oh, it's the number one seed. Of course, duh. They're automatic. If I've seen something about Nemesis, that is not the case at all whatsoever.
Yeah. You want to just start from novice and work our way up?
Sure. So for novice, personally, I don't think, like I was just talking about the one seed, I don't want to see the Whelps. I want to see, I might be a little biased, Frost go back to the grand finals against the Spitfires. I want to see a rematch of that grand finals from last season.
I was actually going to say that exact same thing, but because you said it, I'll change it a little bit. I actually want to see. Oh God, I want to see Crows. I want to see Crows go against. Who do I want to see Crows? Honestly, Crows go against Spitfires. I think it's good. Spitfires have to be in it just because of Jorbage. He's a character. Um, I think
Storytelling.
he can bring in views. But Isa Chad is cracked. Angel is really cool, and backup is super mechanical for a novice player. So I'd say Crows, Spitfires. Um, but what you thinking for prospect?
Oh God, I could be super biased, but I'm not going to because I'm totally not playing in Prospect anymore. I would want to see the Blackhawks go against the Minotaurs.
Mhm.
I think that'll be a really interesting matchup, especially because you have Snazzy on the Minotaurs with Rogue. Then the Blackhawks, you have Sanitario, which he was pretty good in Novice last season. So you'd have to think, how can they defend Minotaurs? Especially because Snazzy and Rogue are the top hitters on the team.
Mhm.
But I mean, I'm not too familiar with their third, but it's a drop off of MMR. You just don't know. And two players, it may be able enough to carry, but they made it to the finals. They're there for a reason.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna be very biased in this one. I'm gonna say Melons and Bandits because Bandits destroyed us in the early part of the season before we got Alex and before we got this current roster. So I want to see that rematch. Unfortunately, we're not in the same division, so it's gonna have to be in the grand finals because right now we are sitting at the 1 and 2 seed. Um, so Melons Bandits rematch for the grand finals, I think would be super exciting. And this time, I think the Melons would win it.
Ooh, third time prospect champs, right?
Yeah. Um, is it okay if I start here for challenge
Yeah,
one?
go for it, go for it.
All right. So, uh, this one not as boring of an answer as last one, but I want to see Flame and Ascension because that was a really good series the first go around. Ascension had the upper hand, but I want to see this Flame roster with local, right? Um, I don't know if he'll make the roster better or worse because Cool Kyle, Fakey, and Isaac were on an absolute tear, but local with Flame versus Ascension in the grand finals could be something to watch.
Yeah, I know all about local. He was on a snowstorm with me last season, so I mean, props to him for finding another roster that actually fits with them. But for my pick, it's gonna come out of left field here a little bit, Squirrel.
I like it. I like it.
I'm gonna give Bubbly a chance to win a chip. I'm gonna
Okay.
say Bishops versus Venom.
All right.
Venom always finds a way to make it to the finals or even playoffs somehow or some way. And for the Bishops, I think they're a pretty solid team. I mean, I don't think they're the top dogs necessarily, but you don't necessarily need to beat the top teams in order to go to the grand finals.
Yeah, Venom almost there in that play-in spot, just slightly behind Motion. But if they can make play-ins, there's always a chance. As I think they might have done it in the past, coming from play-ins, winning the chip, and if Venom does it, that's the three-peat, baby.
Yeah, they were the 8th seed, I believe, 2 seasons ago.
Mhm.
They stomped everybody. They beat the 1 seed with the upset, and they just walked on, went on their merry way.
Yeah. Now I've got a super exciting one for rival, so I'll let you go first.
All right, for rival, I mean, I can say a bland answer with Hydra. Yes, they're a good team,
Yep,
but I don't think it would be interesting to necessarily see them in the finals, even though they're good.
they're great.
I'm not saying they're bad,
They're
okay?
great.
They are good. I, for one, would finally want to see Whiteout to actually make it that far, but I want them to play against the Pineapples. I know the Pineapples have a new roster. We're division rivals, and no way else to settle it but for a chip. A little bit biased, but
Nice.
eh.
I like it. I like it. Well, mine also has pineapples in it, but for a different reason. I want Galaxy to make grand finals against the Pineapples. That way, the mauled that happened between Valence and Crip can come to a
Settled.
head in a Game 7 OT grand finals. What I want to see what a save and nice shot spams in the chat. The whole series. I just think it'd be amazing because I gave up a lot to make that roster happen, and for it to fall apart a little bit for them to not get along and have to make a roster move. It's a little
They,
upsetting, but I still hope Crip succeeds over there. I think with Crip, Galaxy has a much better chance of making playoffs. Um, and hey, if you make playoffs, you can win playoffs. So I'd love to see him there.
yeah, absolutely. Especially with the Valence Crypt thing. I know I traded you Crippus at the beginning of the season, well before it even started,
Yep,
and you did some self-sacrifice here, Squirrel. You benched yourself.
yep. Now I'm
That takes
playing.
some guts. Yep, that takes some guts. So I respect you for that move. But let's head over to Titan, Mr. Squirrel. What do you got for me?
Oh man, there's a lot of good teams in the Titan League, and obviously, in a non-hypothetical world, Krakens are making grand finals. But I'm going to the hypothetical world. This would be my favorite matchup to watch, and that would be Grandmasters taking on. Mm, who would I want to see Grandmasters take on? Probably Venganza because I'm a big Bubs fan and I'm a big Bagels fan, and I think that would be a really fun series to watch. Everyone in there is super mechanical, and then Grandmasters also going to be a lot of fun every time you get to see them. So it'd be very difficult to get the 8th and the 9th seed in the grand finals, but I would love to see it.
That would be interesting to say the least, Squirrel. I'm not trying to be biased, but I have to go to it. Blizzard, they have to go back.
Yeah,
They're
the
like,
three-peat.
yeah, not even for that reason. I mean, they still have Toxic and Max.
Mhm.
I mean, they haven't changed. They have chemistry. They've been building chemistry for so long at this point. If they just get a third, Zinvez, they have a chance. I mean, they're not perfect, but I truly believe that they have what it takes to make the grand finals. You know, just over self bias and everything. But I think they could play Inferno, sleeper team. I think that if they work together and actually, maybe find a new player, maybe I don't know exactly how their roster's panning out, but they're in the playing spot right now, and I think that would be a very interesting Heat versus Ice battle of the elements for the grand finals once again.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Those
Long
are
shot, but
very solid answers, and thank you, Cool Socks, for the question. And Dan, I think that's gonna wrap it up. 40 minutes, man. That's a good one.
wow, we cut off 20 minutes, Squirrel.
I know,
That's very good.
crazy. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for joining us for this episode. Make sure you check us out on YouTube. Check us out on the Twitter. Check us out on Instagram. Join the Discord if you haven't. Make sure you check out Rocket League Server Championship. Watch that playoff tournament they did this weekend, as Nemesis participated in that, and it was a lot of fun. Shout out to the Nemesis team that participated. We love you, we thank you, and we all hope you have a wonderful week.
Bye, guys.